Thank you very much, Bob, and thank you all for joining us. We've got a lot of stuff to cover today, and come on, there we are. And the topics are going to be these things in yellow. I've sectioned them off into these blocks in green. And before we get started, I want you to take a moment to think about the last time you couldn't do something because a computer wasn't working. In other words, could you call the office back? They're working on the database. Or you tried to go to an ATM and it was broken. Or you needed to go into the gas station rather than pay at the pump. When we're the consumer, it's a momentary inconvenience and it's really not a big deal. But when we are the business owner, it's an entirely different story because we cannot let our businesses stop working because a computer isn't running. So if you have any homework to take away from today, it would be to spend some time thinking about how you would do these 4 things here in the event that the primary computer that you use for your business stopped working. And understand that Sony, a company that wants to sell you that backup computer, when they got hacked about 2 years ago now, they had absolutely no idea of what to do for themselves because they had not put into place any sort of business continuity plan. Part of why we're doing this now is because we're in the throes of an enormous change. What we used to do for business and what we do now is an entirely different situation, and our dependence on these machines is enormously high. Part of that is the fact that we are the first generation to be able to have instant gratification. I want what I want when I want it, or as I prefer, the I want it now generation. And this will have a profound effect on your business, your interaction with your customers, how your customers decide to do business with you. They may feel that it's going to take too long, or I can get to it from Amazon faster, and this will have an effect on how your business runs. So that's the background stuff. Now I want to get started. And the first place that I want to start is with your operating system, because regardless of the computer hardware that you purchase, if you don't have software to make it do something, you've got a really glorious paperweight or boat anchor or doorstop. So while it might not be exactly free, it is an integral piece of software for anything that you're going to do. So let's walk through the varieties. First of all, if you are using Microsoft Windows and you are still using Windows XP, I urge you to get done with that machine, not because it will not continue to run, but because Microsoft no longer supports Windows XP as an operating system. In other words, if you have a problem and you call Microsoft to ask them to help you, they will laugh at you. So XP is now a dead item. If you are going to be in Microsoft Windows, Windows 7 works great. Windows 7 Pro, really, really good. If you're in Windows 8, my condolences, but if you would like to make Windows 8 look like Windows 7, there is a free piece of software, we're going to use that word a lot today, called Classic Shell, which it's a free download. If you Google it, you'll find a place to download it. It will give you the start button back in the bottom left corner. If you didn't pay attention to all of the Microsoft reminders that Windows 10 was a free upgrade until last month, and now if you want Windows 10, it's going to be a purchased item. Windows 10 is an operating system. It's really good, solid, works well, strongly recommend it. It's very stable. If you're running an Apple machine, you are in OS X or 10 as a number. I don't do very well with the names. Numerically, I can figure out what's next. And if you are using an Apple computer, Yosemite is about as old a version as I'd recommend. The current version is Sierra, and we will talk about this need to update on a consistent and ongoing basis through this. I will sound like a broken record, I promise you. Linux is an operating system that you can download from the internet for free, and Ubuntu, or as it's properly pronounced, Ubuntu, is a free download, more coming in just a few moments. Mint is another variation on Linux. The Google Chromebooks are based on Linux as well, and there's a little bit more coming on Chromebooks again. When you start to talk about this thing called Fuchsia and Predix, this is for the Internet of almost everything, where you will get notification from your refrigerator that it's time to buy more milk because the weight that's on whatever shelf isn't what it's supposed to be, and you're welcome to do it if you want. I'm still a fan of not having machines do everything for me. They're important to use, but at some point in time we need to be responsible for ourselves. Now, if you are using an Apple mobile device, whether it's a tablet or a phone, I strongly urge you to get up to version 9.3.5 because the NSO Group, which is a company based in Israel, is selling a $1 million piece of software that will allow people like the FBI to break into your phone, which is probably why the FBI stopped arguing with Apple several months ago and said, we don't need to handle with you. We figured out a solution to the problem. It is probably the NSO Group's software. Apple, being embarrassed about the situation, plugged up the hole, but in order for that hole to be plugged up on your phone, you need to be updated to 9.3.5. Now, talking about Ubuntu, Linux, free software available from ubuntu.com. With it, you can create a computer that will dual boot. What that means in English is when you turn the computer on, it will be smart enough to ask you, do you want to start in Windows in case you need to run something like QuickBooks, or do you want to start in Linux, which as a operating system to go online is impervious to most of the garbage that's out there. In other words, the malware, the viruses, all of the garbage that's being pushed onto computers these days is predominantly being focused on Windows machines. Linux is a different language. It's unaffected by this stuff. You can surf the internet in Linux pretty much with impunity. And if you have a Windows 10 computer, you can download this tiny little app called Wooby, and you will be able to do a dual boot. However, and I'm going to say this again, however, please Google dual boot Windows 10 in Google. There are several steps that you will need to do in order to make it work properly and not turn your computer into a paperweight. Now, the other thing you can do is you can purchase a refurbished machine from either Tiger Direct, which is a publicly traded company on the internet, or Staples online will sell refurbished machines. They work really well. You'll get a 3-month warranty, give or take, and that's a machine that can either serve as a backup or you can turn into one of these dual boot things and not put your business at risk. Now, coming up by end of calendar year 2017, Chromebooks will be running Android apps. What that means in English is that if you have an Android phone and you're familiar with a whole list of whatever apps you've been running on your phone, the Chromebooks, and if you go to that website at the bottom there, the hash marks are in yellow. Be very careful about typing that out. You will need the capital L or you will not get to the website. But there's a nice long laundry list of Chromebooks that are going to be running Android apps, which means that you will be able to get Microsoft Office for free onto a Chromebook. Right now you can get Microsoft Office, but it's the online version. What I'm talking about here is an actual version of Microsoft Office that can live on the computer. Let's move into security, because what workshop on technology is complete without it? And imagine sitting at your library getting free software, mind you, because you can get onto the library's internet for free, And you're sitting at the library, and all of a sudden the FBI swarms in and grabs this guy, Ross Ulbricht, who was also known as the Dread Pirate Roberts, running a drug website called Silk Road, and they basically threw him in jail, and he's not coming back. But security on computers, guy was running this billion-dollar website from free internet, which, as we know, you could do from a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts. You can do it at a library, but you can get online for free. However, the part I want to focus on in terms of security is that the shift for people who are trying to trick you, hack you, and make money off of you illegally is changing from trying to break into your machine, which we'll talk about that in a bit as well, to the people who are using the machines. It's known as social engineering. And that $2.3 billion in loss that the FBI is reporting, I saw recently an IBM report, that's now over $3 billion. Here's what's going on. You may have, as a company, the XYZ.com website, and your boss may be Joe Smith. So Joe Smith at XYZ.com sends an email to you, please send $252 to Charlie Johnson, wherever, whoever, I don't know. In any event, you've got to start taking the time to look at where these emails are coming from, because it may not be Joe Smith at XYZ.com. It could be Joe Smith at XYZ.net, and you have just sent money out the door for no reason at all. Let me give you an example. This was an email that I got, and first of all, I don't do any international mail through FedEx at all, so I'm not paying attention to that. But I also know for a fact that FedEx does not need to use DentistElmhurstNY.com to send me a letter. They've got FedEx.com. It works really, really well. In other words, if I had clicked that Get Shipment label right down here, it would have been a really big problem for me. So read first or pay later. Also, understand that security is not a product that you're going to be able to buy for your company. There are pieces to a process that you can purchase, but security is a process, not a product. And of course, the more security, the less freedom. The more freedom, the less security. And tell your friends, by the way, if they get an email or a phone call from the IRS, it is bogus. The only way the IRS will ever contact you is by snail mail. They will send you a letter. That's it. No other method. Check it with your accountant. Now also understand that when you let employees onto your computers, you are essentially giving them the keys to your kingdom. And they are people who are inside your walls to be equally as concerned about as the people outside of those walls. So I strongly recommend the cultivation of employee loyalty. If you've got a sign over your door that says the beatings will continue until morale improves, you could be very unhappy somewhere down the line. And understand that there is insurance you can now purchase to mitigate your costs in the event of a hack. And depending upon how large your company is, it can be anywhere up to $1 million for the break-in that you experience. And they're averaging these break-ins at $150 per record for the tracking and what I call remediation, but the companies that are going to watch your credit reports and any activity that would be associated with your name or credit card company, you as business owner would be spending approximately $154 per record in your database for all of these people in the event that you got hacked. And right now some podiatrist is watching out for my wife and kids, which I thank him very much, but I'm sure he really didn't want that to be part of his budget. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is that if somebody has an axe to grind with you, it is going to be considerably harder for you to keep them out than for them to get in. So with that in mind, this idea of risk is really more of a question of what would it cost for your business to get back in business in the event of a problem, rather than the investment of time and money in trying to block the door. So again, just a process to keep in mind on how to address all of what we know is going on a very regular basis. 2 more slides on security and we're done, folks. Want to do a quick thing on passwords. I'm a huge fan of transposing letters for numbers. Take an S, turn it into a 5. Take an E, turn it into a 3. Come up with a different word, and you're getting to the point of a bulletproof password. Just avoid that cap H in the middle of something long and ridiculous. And I've read that if you use a person, a place, and a thing, and then transpose it, you're bulletproof as well as can be expected, with one major exception. It is a really bad idea to have this really good password out and available for everybody to see. That is not the place to put the password. It's also not to put into the book that you leave on your desk that says all of the secret passwords that we need for the company. So think about these things, folks. This is where social engineering and the people looking over your shoulder are able to start to take advantage of you and your business. Now, aside from the security of your business, let's talk about how do you keep your business running in terms of the computers and the software. And the first item that I want to talk about is a fabulous piece of free software called tweaking.com, which will take about an hour's worth of time on a monthly basis if you run it. It just scrubs through the registry, which is part of your computer that keeps track of everything that's on your computer. It's been around for multiple years. These screens are probably dated because they keep changing the interface, but wherever you see the stars, those are the ones I recommend, and the stars are on running an antivirus, doing a backup, and then running all of the tweaking services. Now this thing at the bottom here, Combo Fix, if you are still in Windows 7, this is one of the best pieces of software I have ever seen for cleaning up a computer. The only place to get it from is a website called bleepingcomputer.com. It is the ugliest piece of software you've ever seen in your life. It runs about 54 processes in a black screen, but when it's done, you have cleaned up really, really well. On to antivirus, which if you are on the Windows side of the world, it is an essential piece of software. On the Mac side of the world, it's become important too. The thing to bear in mind about antivirus is that there are 80,000 doors into and out of a computer, and if you are paying for antivirus software as a small business, in my opinion, you will get a more visceral experience out of your money if you just set it on fire. Because antivirus as a piece of software is reactive. There's a cootie on the computer, they create a cootie killer. There's an even better cootie on the computer, they create an even better cootie killer. If they blocked all 80,000 doors, nothing would get done. So, in terms of free antivirus, I am a huge fan of Bitdefender on home computers. Bitdefender has a free software that you can use for home computers. AVG also offers free software. Avast offers free software. Of those, I am, as I said, a huge fan of Bitdefender. On the Mac side, Bitdefender is a paid piece of software. Bitdefender does offer a paid version on the PC side as well for businesses. And if you're ambivalent on that, also on the PC side is this software called Viper, which takes up very little resource on your computer and allows you to have more RAM and computer resources to do other stuff than protect your computer. Also, as far as viruses are concerned, I am a huge fan of Firefox because it is a standalone browser. Internet Explorer and I believe Microsoft Edge, which is what came after Internet Explorer in Windows 10, they are married to the operating system. So if you get a problem with one, there's a really good possibility that it will migrate into your operating system as well. Now, surge bars, which all of us are trying to protect our machines from lightning or spikes in our electricity. If you are a homeowner, for $100, you can purchase a surge protector that will go into your fuse box. GE manufactures a surge protector that will go in the fuse box and will then protect your computers, your tablets, your stereo, your television, because it's at the central source. I cannot tell you the cost of the electrician to install the surge protector, but I can tell you that if you are a homeowner and you put a surge protector into the fuse box, you're now protecting everything electric, not just your computer. And before I forget, Malwarebytes is another antivirus piece of software on both the Mac and Windows side that is free. And I've been to the Apple Store, and that is the only piece of software I've ever heard a Mac person recommend in terms of cleaning up an Apple computer. And I don't know what my daughter got, but it worked. So I can recommend that very highly. On to email. And if you are running either Linux or Windows, Thunderbird is a free piece of software that will connect up to whatever email system you are using, and it works very well. The only caveat to that is I have had enormous problems trying to make Thunderbird talk to the calendar that I use in Microsoft Hosted Exchange. And I'll address Hosted Exchange a little more in just a moment. But in terms of an email client, an email app program that you can put onto your computer, it works really well. And I have several clients who are using it and very pleased with it instead of spending money on Microsoft Outlook. Now, I want to talk about email for a little longer because it is an essential part of our businesses now, and many people have a free email service. And in fact, this guy is the head of each of these people has a company that has free email. Live.com or Outlook.com, Yahoo.com, Gmail.com, and Mac.com. And then, of course, you run your business. All of them are running their businesses. Here's the picture I want to paint for you. It's Friday afternoon, and it's 4:47 p.m., and the email has to go out today, and it's not working. We've all been in the place where something's not working. Here's the question. Do you feel that you would have for your business the same resources available to you to solve your email problem as any of these four people? And if you say that's a ridiculous question and you're blowing smoke and this is completely ludicrous, I would suggest that you consider Microsoft Hosted Exchange, which is something that you can get through Office 365 at $6 per account per month, or through a company called Intermedia, where I use Intermedia, and I believe my charge is $15 per month. But 24/7, 365, I've got a problem, I've got somebody I can call, and I have watched people remote in on my computer, and it is like watching a concert pianist do work. The unwritten law of email, by the way, which you avoid if you go into Microsoft Hosted Exchange. If you are not using Hosted Exchange, the unwritten law clearly states if you absolutely, positively must get your hands on an email, it will not be on the device you are touching. The only way around that I know of, bulletproof, is Microsoft Hosted Exchange. Google gets pretty good with it with Gmail, but if you have a problem with Gmail and you can't find the answer on the Google website, let me give you a politically correct phrase to accurately describe the situation: you're screwed. Microsoft Hosted Exchange, if you pay for your email, you will always be able to get support. Some of the ways to avoid problems: have fewer than 5,000 items in any given folder. Make sure that your PST file, which is the Outlook file that accumulates all of your email, is smaller than 5 gigabytes. And the way to do that is to unattach the PDFs and the photos and the videos and all of the things that would come with an email and put them into folders. The PST is like an accordion, and if you take these attachments off, the PST file will get smaller and smaller. Also, unsubscribe to things. Talbots will continue to function even if you don't get their notifications of a sale. I promise you, you will be able to find it on their website. Now, as I was mentioning, there's several different types of email. Pop mail is you ask from your computer to some computer in the sky, do I have any email, and they give it to you. Then you are either saving it up online as well, or you're having it deleted once it lands on your computer. If you are in IMAP, which is Gmail, then things are starting to talk to multiple devices, but as I said before, if you have a problem, there's very little help that you're going to be able to get. Unless, of course, you're working for the Department of the Interior and they've got about 10,000 people, and then there is a dedicated Google person that somebody can call to get a solution. But as a small business owner, very little help. So I strongly urge you, invest in your business. We're getting into the meat and potatoes of this thing now, folks, and OpenOffice, which used to be a Sun Microsystems product, when Oracle purchased them, they spun off to be their own entity. OpenOffice is the equivalent of Microsoft Office, only free. However, if they shut down, the OpenOffice version that you are using will continue to work. However, it will start to get all kinds of vulnerabilities and holes and problems that there's no back office to fix. So, what do I recommend? There's a few choices, and the primary one I would recommend is LibreOffice, which will work on Windows, Macintosh, and Linux. And you can find LibreOffice either at its own website or at portableapps.com or LibreKey. LibreKey is a French company, and both of these places are treasure troves of free software, well organized, plenty of choices of things that you can get. In many of the cases, you are able to take the software that you download, put it onto a thumb drive, and you can take it with you wherever you may go, and you will have the programs that you need to run your business. Now, one other place I would suggest you consider if you have children. I want to say that again. If you have children, JourneyEd.com is a terrific place where you can purchase software. They will sell the student or education versions of the software, provided you give to them an ID card of your child who's at school or a letter from the school, and they will ask you to fax those to them. And they don't care if your child is in kindergarten or college. If you can tell them that you have a student in school, you are able to purchase education versions of software, which they put a different splash screen up, but just for the record, they work the same way as the versions that you would purchase as primary business product. One of the shortcomings that I have found for both the Windows operating system and the Macintosh operating system is that we accumulate multiple files in our folders, and there's no way to get a list of what we've got so that you can either research or update or track or do any sort of gathering of information. Again, be very careful with the capitals and small letters here, but directory list and print will allow you to go into a folder and then either print out on paper, copy it to the clipboard of your computer so you've got this data sitting and ready to go somewhere, push it into a Word document, push it into an Excel document, and now you've got something that would be editable and sortable, and you can track it in a variety of different ways. Great piece of software. If you are on a Macintosh, they have a piece of software, and I don't know whether it's free or for purchase from Macintosh, called Print Window, which will do the same thing. Evernote is one of my most favorite programs on the planet Earth today. I love Evernote. I have thousands of Evernotes, and Evernote will give you the software. It will run online, on your mobile device, either Mac or PC. It will run on a Macintosh computer. It will run on a Windows computer, standalone apps in each of those places. And they will give you 60 megabytes a month, which they reset just like the data plan for your phone. And what is 60 megabytes in terms of a quantity of storage? 60 megabytes will hold 27 copies of the Beatles song Help, which if you purchased them at the Apple Music Store would be $1.30 a piece and roughly $202.80 per year of value that they are giving away. I pay $30 a year for Evernote, and I will show you later why. But 60 megabytes is a lot of information that you can gather. What does Evernote allow you to do? It allows you to create a new text note on your phone, which you can find on your office computer as well as your home computer. If you want to include a photograph in that note, you can attach it to the same note. If you wanted to put an audio file, you can attach that to the same note. If you had a PDF or some Word document that you wanted attached to the same note, you could put all of those things together as a note. You can then put the notes into notebooks. So you can section those off. My arrow points in the wrong direction, but you can have multiple notebooks so that everything can get very nicely organized as if you were going to school and you had math, science, biology, and you can sort it all out. Then, of course, there are the tags. And tags, in computer speak, that's metadata. You don't see the tags, but that's where that's like the gasoline that allows the engine of a database to run. And the better your tags, the more information you put in, the easier it is for you to find stuff. And I've been using the same tags for years now, so I have hardware, software, news, and things split out, and I take the time to tag my stuff so that I can find it later on. Evernote is an incredibly powerful tool. I start letters in my car on my phone. I continue them in my kitchen. I finish them at my desk in my office. And with Evernote, it just keeps in sync in all of those places. It's absolutely fabulous piece of software, well worth the investment. Let's talk about online storage for a minute because these are my three primary choices or recommendations. I've been using Dropbox a very long time and I've just gotten used to it, and over the years of recommendation I've accumulated some extra space. It's the place that I go to first. If you have a concern about security, Dropbox allows you to use a piece of software called BoxCryptor, which will allow you to encrypt all of the information that you put into a single folder. So you could put BoxCryptor at the very top level of Dropbox, or you could just have it in your tech stuff folder. But if you lose that password, your stuff is gone. So proceed with caution. In terms of storage amounts, OneDrive is a Microsoft product. Microsoft will ask you to have a Microsoft email, whether it's Outlook.com or Live.com. MSN, or I think it's MSN, or I'm blanking on the third one, but there's several different Microsoft free email products. Once you have one of those, they will give you 5 gigabytes of space in OneDrive. It used to be healthier, but now they're selling OneDrive storage along with Office 365, which is a subscription service. It is not an ownership of software. Google Docs, they're giving you 15 gigabytes of storage online, and they give you software that will allow you to write documents, make spreadsheets, and do presentations. Google Docs is a really robust offering, and it's a huge amount of space. If you're not in either a video, a music, or an image-based business, and you fill 15 gigabytes, please give me a call. We need to talk. You're storing a lot of stuff online. But understand, when you store stuff online, just like you can get to it, other people can get to it as well. And what's happening now is not only are people encrypting your documents and asking you to pay them, they're not decrypting them at the back end. So I strongly recommend that you also, as a safety precaution, get an external hard drive and periodically take the stuff you store online, put it on the external drive, and disconnect the external drive from the computers on your network. If Sony had an offline drive for their company, when everything went blank, they'd have gone to the offline drive, plugged it back in, put everything back where it belonged, and they would have gone back to business. Now, when I do this as a PowerPoint, things are coming on and going off. For these online presentations, they're image files. So the first item you're going to see a lot about is aboutads.info, and that symbol and that website will allow you to opt out of a lot of email advertising. About Ads is a consortium of the very large internet advertisers who understand that you don't want to be inundated with everything. So if you go to aboutads.info, you can get your name, your computer, your stuff in there, and you will see fewer pop-ups and less advertising, and there will be less cookies, those pieces of information that people track you with on your computer. So we are in this is screenshots of Firefox, and I'm going to walk you through a bunch of these squares over here. Firefox, if you want more real estate on screen, does not provide you with a lot of helpful information about where stuff is. So all of the Firefox stuff is in those 3 little lines right over there. Left click and everything shows up underneath. Evernote Clipper. I mentioned that I spend $30 a year. The reason I spend $30 a year is because with Evernote Clipper, I can pull a full website, I can pull just a URL, or I can pull just an article. Come on. There we are. All of your downloads are going to be that arrow pointing over there. Your search engine, you don't have to have Google as your start page or Yahoo. You can pick the search engine you want. Currently, I've been using DuckDuckGo. They do not track all of your searches. Google and Gmail, they track everything you're doing. FlagFox will tell you the country of origin of the website you are on. In other words, if you type in citibank.com and you see the flag of Lithuania, I don't recommend you put in your username and password. It could be a really bad thing. Colorful tabs for the people who are visual will just give you a way of keeping track of what website is which color. And the last one that's really wonderful is this thing which I still call readability. Readability as an add-on has gone away, but readability as a process or product is still around. This is built into Firefox. Here's how it works. I thought this would be an important item for my customers, but I didn't see any need to advertise Chromebooks or to advertise IBM. So you click on the readability button, and that information turns into something that looks more like a printed document as opposed to the information with the advertising. From here, you can create a PDF. And if you are in the Macintosh operating system and you go File Print, you will see the PDF button in the bottom left corner. In Windows, I recommend a piece of free software called Bullzip, which will allow you to designate a place to store it and then allow you to put in the metadata, the keywords, title and author. From there, once you have gotten this PDF and you've saved it somewhere, you can then import the PDF into a piece of software called Calibre, which is available on both Windows machines and Apple machines. And with the database, you can import your PDFs, you'll have your dates, you'll have all of your metadata, and it becomes very easy to search. Sorry about those clicks there, folks. All right. Moving on to mobility. We're getting close to the end, folks. And first of all, tomorrow Apple is going to announce a new iPhone, which will make the headphone jack go away and will probably make that big button at the bottom go away too. For Apple, nobody's quite sure whether it's going to be a positive or negative reaction. I spent a couple of $100 on headphones. I'm not sure I want to do that again, because I don't have a place to plug it into, and I don't want to buy a gizmo that's going to transpose a Bluetooth into a plug-in, and it gets muddy. Meanwhile, if you had an Android Samsung, hopefully your pants didn't catch fire. They are bringing back a couple of million of these phones, which I'm told by a friend work really well, and his hasn't caught fire yet, but let's talk about mobile phones. And by the way, just for the record, that is the original smartphone, in case you didn't know it. And yes, I date myself when I show stuff like this. Anyway, let's move on. This is my ever-changing hit list of stuff for mobile. And as we've said, this will be available online. You're welcome to screenshot it as well. We've already talked about Dropbox and Evernote. Outlook from Microsoft is a fabulous email piece of software on both the Apple side and on the Android side. I find, however, that the Apple Mail on Apple mobile devices, for me, works terrific. News and Weather is a free app for just what it says. It will gather news from all over the planet. WhatsApp is a program coming out of Asia that's really good for video chat. CC Demo on an Android phone will enable you to get to that Calibre database on your phone so you can track stuff. Docs2Go is a really small Microsoft Office creator and viewer. So if you've created a Word document and you have Docs2Go, you can look at it and you can edit it. I have had Docs2Go for close to 10 years. I spent $20 on it. I truly don't know whether it's a free or paid item anymore. I can tell you that Microsoft Office is available for free on both Android phones and on Apple phones, but they take up a huge amount of space. Memento is the database program I use on my Android phone, and again, about 8-10 years, it's just terrific. QuickBooks Online is a free download, but the QuickBooks Online service you need to pay for. I use Go SMS for my messaging because I can send my text messages to my kids as Love Dad and my text messages to my customers with an email and a phone number. Love Dad doesn't work very well for the customers. Shazam is a music program that will tell you who's playing the piece of music, and I'm a big music fan, so for me that's always nice to find the name of it, and you will get music cheaper through Amazon than you will be able to purchase it in some cases on Apple. New York Times, we know. Wall Street Journal, we know. If you are not using Waze, I strongly recommend it. Mrs. Waze is absolutely fabulous for telling you where the traffic is and where the police are and where the alternate routes should be. And finally, just in the last 2 weeks or so, Google came out with Google Duo, which will allow you to do video chatting between Apple computers and Apple mobile devices and Android mobile devices. And I tested it with my kids' Apple phones from my Android phone. Works just great. Imaging. There are a huge number of free choices for mobile devices. You can get Adobe Photoshop for free. Adobe Photoshop on a computer is a subscription service. If you need to go online with a computer, PixLR is a website where for free you can upload an image and you can do the editing. For Windows, I'm a huge fan of a free downloadable app called Paint.net. I have been told that it is a Microsoft product, but I've never seen that tie before. But as a program, Paint.net works just great. And Apple, I would rather hit my thumb with a hammer than use GIMP. I've lived in Photoshop since version 2. I find GIMP enormously confusing. However, it is free. If you go to the Android or the Google Play Store, you can enhance images like this thing over here using programs like Prisma or Arto. And if you are on the Apple computers and you type in cool photo effects in the Apple Store, they will give you a host of different choices of ways to edit your images. Picasa has turned into Photos on Google, and they will auto-upload and backup for you if you want. I do not recommend it. You will lose track of what's where. It's very easy to get confused with this stuff. If you have Amazon Prime, they will allow you to download an app that will back up all of your photos onto Amazon. Not your videos, not your music, not your docs, just your photos backed up for free on Amazon. If you're using Dropbox, they also have an automated backup your photos thing, which at 2 gigabytes you will fill it up faster than you would like. It's very confusing. And with iCloud, which is the Apple product, they will give you 5 gigabytes out of the gate, but the goal with Apple is to tell you that you have filled it up as fast as possible and roll you over to $99 a year for Apple storage. And again, it becomes very confusing in these automated processes. What's living on your phone? What's living online? How do you get it from living online back to your phone? So I am not a fan of the automated backup systems for imaging. Last one. As any of you, if you've ever done any presentations, you know there are 3 parts to them. There is the tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. We are at the tell them what you told them part, also known as the recap. So, invest in email. I urge you to spend money on this if it is important to your business. If you are in mobile devices, Waze is a really important thing if you drive. The news services that you can get online for a phone are absolutely fabulous. Microsoft Office is free, but there are alternatives. And by the way, have I mentioned that it's really important to constantly update everything that you've got with your software so that you can plug up the holes and stay current? If not, I'd strongly recommend it. Software alternatives, as I said, huge fan of Evernote, Dropbox, and if you've forgotten it, put down LibreOffice, because LibreOffice is the alternative to the $400 Microsoft Office package that you could purchase, or the rental of Microsoft Office 365. And again, with imaging, there's a huge number of choices for free on mobile devices, and they work really well. Final, really important takeaway. While we have spent a lot of time talking about free pieces of software, understand that they may not always be your best solution, because you will need to invest some time figuring out how to make them work. And if you've got stuff that's working and your time is more valuable running your business, invest your time in your business. If you make models, do puzzles, go fishing, and your hobby is to figure out software, then free software may just be a pastime that you enjoy doing. So, We are now at any questions, Steve?
Thank you, Budley. That was absolutely jam-packed. This is Steve Smith. I'm going to moderate the Q&A real quickly here. Thanks for your questions. We have quite a lot of them. I'll
go long if anyone wants to. I don't mind.
Okay, so let's just start out with at the beginning here and see how we do. A question about what is the Mac equivalent of tweaking.com?
There is none that I know of. Macintosh will, built into its system, look in utilities. If you go to the Apple Drive, you go into utilities, there's a Disk First Aid, and within Disk First Aid there are a few apps that will clean stuff up. If you want something more specific than that, I would recommend contacting someone at an Apple store.
Okay, thanks for that. But here's one about Bitfinder. It's from Michael Smoller. Basically, he's saying that he understands your point about the antivirus being ineffective, but what is Bitfinder and is it better?
Oh, Bitdefender, not Bitfinder. Bitdefender is an antivirus program. However, hello?
Go ahead, Budley.
Okay. Bitdefender is antivirus. It will work on both Windows and on Macintosh. On Macintosh, Bitdefender is a paid service. On the Windows side, there is a free for home use version. And what Bitdefender does better, quote unquote, than the other people is that they are connecting the Bitdefender app on your computer to Bitdefender Online, where they've got a great big robust machine doing the majority of the work that used to be relegated to your computer. Now, how they do it, truly, I don't know. But I can tell you that the resources on the computer, the PC computer that you would put Bitdefender onto, it's going to take up fewer resources, which will allow your computer to run faster and do better with other programs open at the same time.
All right, good. Hey, I've got some other questions here. This one is, could you please relist or restate the URL for the Android app for Microsoft Office Google Chrome?
Oh, all right. We'll make some.
Sounds like a tough request off the top of your head, but.
No, it's not off the top of my head. We just cheat.
Okay.
bit.ly/Chromebook capital L list.
There it is.
Okay? Be very careful. You got to do this in caps and smalls. Right. And also, if you Google Chromebooks running Android software, you'll be able to find that.
Okay, thanks for that. Here's another one from Mike D'Onofrio, who's kind of asking a question that we're all probably thinking, and that is, like, what does the free provider get for doing this? Is it philanthropic or is there an ulterior motive?
In some cases, particularly Ubuntu, there is a financier behind them who basically built a company, and Ubuntu at the server level is a paid service. Bitdefender has paid service for businesses. LibreOffice is a consortium of people who basically globally, like Linus Torvald, who was the creator of Linux, they're academics who this is what they do, and they're either getting students to help with something or it's part of a student project. In some cases, as I think I've mentioned, if something is free, you're the product. In other words, I can now get advertisers onto my website because there are 8,000 or 800,000 people using my piece of software. And you become the product in some cases for that free piece of software that you put on your machine, or you'll see advertising on a regular basis. That's the best I can offer on you.
All right, good, thanks. There have been a couple questions about will the deck be shared afterwards, and I think Budley
yes.
or Bob. Yeah, so what would you like to say about that, Budley?
SCORE Norwalk is working diligently to be able to have the webinars that we are creating online available to you, but at this point in time, nobody can give us a calendar projection. Stay tuned to our webinars, because when it becomes available, we are going to very proudly be able to let you know that the previous webinars will be online.
Yeah, we've had webinars starting in November of last year, and so we are creating this library of webinars. I was hoping to have, this is Steve Smith, by the way, I was hoping to have this all available by now, but we're having a little bit of technical difficulty with that. But we are building the library. So continue to go to scorefairfieldcounty.org, and you'll get updates on that. And this is maybe even a better idea, is to keep coming to the webinars. And I'll tell you when the next two are, again, in just a minute. But for another question, Budley, Michael Smoller said he missed the point about what you said about Caliber.
Oh, Caliber is a database program. It will allow you to take all of the PDFs that you've got, or Word documents, or pretty much any kind of file, and create a database of it. It's a free piece of software. It will run on either Macintosh or it will run on Windows. And when you create your Caliber database, if you were to put that database into the online folder, in other words, your Dropbox folder or your Google Docs folder or your OneDrive folder, whatever computer you're touching that's doing the database creation will then make those changes on the computer you're touching, push those changes up to the online version of the file, and if you go to the other computer, whatever it may be, and that can include your Android phone using CC Demo, it will allow you to reference that database from any machine that you touch.
Okay, good. A question from Bruce Paul here. What do you recommend? This is a pretty big question. What do you recommend for CRM systems for businesses that are too small and don't need anything as complex as Salesforce.com? Is there a simplistic Excel, for example, or something else that might be inexpensive or free?
My strongest recommendation on that, and I told this to a client a number of years ago, is to create your own Excel spreadsheet, because the issue of CRMs isn't the who you're using or what company you've chosen. It's going to be GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. In other words, you can have the best CRM app that money can buy, but if you don't put the information into it, it's a waste of time and money. So whatever container you want to use is fine. Actually, as I'm thinking out loud, I would recommend Evernote, because it will be available on whatever device you're touching. And if you start to create your notebooks and your notes, you can have 5 clients, 5 notebooks. In each of those 5 notebooks, if you have your phone conversations, they will all go into, if you keep your organization, it will all stay organized, or you can just grow a single note. I regularly read a Wall Street Journal item called CIO Journal, which is an email that I get on a daily basis. Everything I read in there is not important. However, there may be 2 nuggets that are of value. I'll copy those nuggets out, and I've got a CIO Journal page note in Evernote that I've been growing for a year. So all of my stuff is sitting in Evernote, accessible to me anywhere I might be. And to me, Evernote, which will allow you to create a spreadsheet style of information, it's just terrific. And 60 megabytes a month for text, if you can fill that, God bless you, because the Bible is 1.2 megabytes itself. And 60 megabytes, that's like 50 Bibles. You've got to be prolific. So, that's a lot of text. Evernote. I'd recommend Evernote.
All right, good. Here's a question for you. Now, keep in mind what the time is, because this is a really big question. It's Jesse McCarthy has been told to use cloud to keep her business safe. Can you explain quickly what cloud is and how to get on it? Okay.
Cloud is online storage. Online storage, and I never use the phrase cloud because clouds are bad. Clouds bring rain. Clouds bring snow. People with clouded judgment are hard to work with. People with their head in the clouds are hard to work with. Online storage is terrific. Clouds as a metaphor is a really bad metaphor. Online, I love online. It allows me access from whatever and wherever, provided you can get online. And to the safety of your stuff being online, I'm not 100% sure about that. Password protect the documents that are important to you. Now you're starting to safeguard your stuff. And as I mentioned earlier, buy an external hard drive, and the stuff that's really, really important and really, really valuable, copy to that external drive, and then unplug the drive from the computer so it's just sitting all by itself, all alone, on a shelf, nothing touching it. Because if you have a problem online, the online problem will affect everything you touch everywhere you go. So, safest backup I can recommend, it's called a 3-2-1-1 backup. Put your data in 3 places, 2 different media, 1 off-site, 1 offline. Very quickly. 3 different media, your computer, an external hard drive, online software. 2 different media, external hard drive, a CD drive, a thumb drive, online storage. Those are all 2 different media. Off-site, your cloud storage, which could be Carbonite, Mozy, Google Docs, Dropbox. Any one of them is off-site. And the offline is either a thumb drive or an external hard drive or something that is not connected to your network. Very important to not be connected to your network. That's the best I can offer you.
Yeah, excellent answer. 2 more questions, quickly.
Sure.
I think they're pretty easy ones, actually. LaShawn Richburg says, Evernote Clipper seems to be free. Are you paying for some additional service, such as storage for the $30?
Yes. Read carefully on Evernote Clipper, because my belief in Evernote Clipper is that they now expect you to pay $30 a year, which will give you up to 1 gigabyte of storage. And in addition to the gigabyte of storage, as opposed to 60 megabytes a month, they are also now providing Evernote Clipper. But check that. But part of the reason that I invested was that in some email, and I can't tell you the date, but it said, you want Evernote Clipper? Now you got to pay for it. If you pay for it, we'll also give you additional storage. And that was, for me, the motivator. And $30 to me is not going out to lunch a couple of times, and I'll eat tuna fish. It's well worth it to me.
Okay, no comment. Hey, so Marie Reynolds has a quick one here. She says she's using Trend Micro Maximum Security. She was told by Microsoft that their Windows 10 Defender was all she needed. Do you have any comments on that?
Microsoft will tell you that the software that they have built into Windows 10 is quote-unquote good enough. As I said, I'm a big fan of Bitdefender. I have used Viper on machines as well. The antivirus software is only one piece of the puzzle. I will leave you with, as a final thought, something that my brother has been telling to my children for the last 10 years. At the end of the Thanksgiving dinner he cooks, and he makes an absolutely fabulous Thanksgiving dinner, and when we're saying goodbye, he looks at my kids every year and he says, "Don't do anything stupid." And they've been listening to him. And I would make that a mantra for going online, and the false belief that antivirus software will protect you from everything. It will not.
Okay. Budley, thank you very much. You've now set a record for the longest webinar, but very, very informative stuff and great questions. Thanks to everybody for that. So we're going to cut this off now, except for one or two small items. If you've got, for those of you that participate in this call, if you've got your calendars handy, just mark off 2 dates that might be of interest to you for our subsequent webinars. As Bob said, we have one on September 27th, which is Key Financial Metrics for Selected Industries. John Harmons does that. You're going to really love it. And also on October 11th, our friend and expert on virtually everything, Cliff Enico, is going to be doing a webinar on legal issues of social media. I've seen him present this live before. It's very, very topical, as you can all imagine. So you can either, if you didn't manage to write those down, you can find them at scorefairfieldcounty.org in the upcoming category. So listen, thanks. On behalf of SCORE, thanks to everybody, especially you, Bud, for doing a really, really...
Thanks for listening, folks. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, you're welcome. And everybody have a very good day. Bye-bye.